Welcome to the R.E.A.L Podcast, where hosts Shane Kilby and Duane Murphy dive deep into the world of real estate agent life. From overcoming hurdles to celebrating success, join us as we explore the journeys of industry veterans and rookies alike. Get ready for bi-weekly episodes packed with advice, feedback, and mentorship from the best in the business.
And I think we're live. Well, welcome to Real Estate Agent Life. This is where we bring some of the best in the business together to help you move your real estate career forward. And today, Shane, who do we have on the podcast?
Today we have an old friend of ours, Sean Zubor. He is the co-founder and the managing partner of Stonehaus Realty in Canada. And today he is a visionary leader transforming the real estate brokerage model. A few milestones, and then we'll let him uncover some of the others. A few of his achievements thus far is he has built one of Canada's fastest growing real estate brokerages. He's very deeply passionate about entrepreneurship, mentorship, and agent success. And I should add to that, being a great father figure to his two young boys. He focuses on cutting edge technology and agent first culture. What you guys are going to grab out of this episode is you guys are going to get some insight to scaling a team, scaling a brokerage, and a little bit of insight of how he has built his Powerhouse team. He is part of the evolution of real estate and the trends that shape the industry itself. So stay tuned. We're going to get into some deep dives on some game-changing strategies to help agents level up both on the solo aspect, the team aspect, and even as a brokerage as well. So get ready for a high-energy conversation packed with lots of insights. What's up, my man? How are you?
Great, man. Thank you so much, guys, for having me here. I'm looking forward to a good conversation, a good chat. And that was very kind of you. I don't know if I'm that much of a thought or leader, but I'll take any good thing I can get.
Well, we've known each other for quite some time, and every time I go back and do a little bit of deep dive on you, there's more accolades that are landing on that list, and I'm like, we got to kind of get this into a concise set of bullets, man. I'm going to spend 7 minutes, discussing the achievements of Sean Zubor and Stonehaus Realty. You guys have built an amazing organization. It's like Hollywood in Hollywood, Canada, right? For this Stonehaus Realty. You guys have done an amazing job with that. Tell us a little bit about Sean's backstory. Like how did you get into real estate?
Long story long, I come from, my parents escaped communist Hungary in the 70s. So when they came to Canada, the same old story. My dad was a marine engineer. My mom was a midwife, but none of their paperwork meant anything. So my dad became a long-haul truck driver. My mom was an esthetician. And I was ingrained this crazy work ethic since a kid, right? So you all right there, Duane? He's doing good.
Full disclosure for all the guys and gals out there listening or watching this podcast episode, Duane is suffering from one of the influenzas. So if you see him dive out of the shots, we will edit those out. You won't be able to see those on the video. And it's a podcast, so you won't be able to hear him when he goes off camera. So pick up where you let off, Sean.
Sean's I'm getting all deep in his story, and I'm just like, this is
man. I admire you, bro. I think I would have called it sick, so I love it. So yeah, back to the story. Basically, my parents immigrated here. Hard work ethic. I've seen that since I was a kid. I was always obsessed. I have a natural, and it's done me good and bad, but extremely competitive nature. So I was, national karate champion, Pan American champion was a kid. I fought MMA most of my life and competed professionally in that for a while as well. So I was always trying to do better and grow. That being said, since 15, I worked at a mill, but next to that, that was just while I was, on the weekends or whatever. But since 15 years old, I've never had a non-commission job my entire life. So I've never had a paycheck that's just a regular reoccurring paycheck. So for me, a lot of people ask, how did you go from having a steady income to not? I've never really had to have that issue. I've always been commissioned. So I've never known what it's like to know what I'm going to get paid next month. But basically just transferred from, I went from fighting and doing MMA, pro, semi-pro. Back then it was technically illegal in Canada. So we got paid, but it was all on the native reserves and so on and so forth. And then I was running car dealerships, selling cars for a while. So I was doing the car business. My ex-mother-in-law, I guess, she was a mortgage broker for the biggest bank in Canada. And she basically said, hey man, if you want to marry my daughter, you cannot be a car salesman. So I'm like, okay, so what can I do next? I ended up in mortgages. Absolutely hated it. And not so much the mortgage business itself, but it was very commodity based. And personally, I don't like being in a commodity type business. I want to be able to add additional value other than just the rate. So it didn't really mesh well with me. So one day, and I was only in that business for about 3 or 4 years ago, in 2013, I got licensed. And my business partner that I own the brokerage with, he was one of my realtors that I would be sending referrals to as a mortgage broker and receiving them. I did his personal mortgage. I'm like, oh, wow, this guy's making 400 grand a year. It does nothing. I'm like, I'm in the wrong business, right? So I just basically transferred, and 3 weeks later, I was in real estate, and I took my work ethic from the car business and everything, transferred that over, did 6 deals in my first 6 weeks, and kind of went from there.
That's interesting. What I heard in those first couple of sentences there was that you know what it's like to survive. And Duane and I have talked about this a lot, off camera, on camera. That's a key ingredient in success in any profession, but especially in a profession such as ours, where you hear the media talk about a market shift, but we all know behind closed doors, the market never stops shifting. And that survival mentality is why I would imagine that you probably keep a good handle on your P&L, but it's not something that you have to look at every day of the week, right? You know that you get up and grind, you set that standard for the people around you, and you hold that line. And from there, you know that the rest, as far as the money per se, will take care of itself within reason, of course.
Yeah, it's funny that you said it's actually now I've switched over to, I got this zoom in, zoom out feature with my hands.
I've got that same camera. You have to keep your hands down.
Exactly. And I talk with my hands so much, it's horrible.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny that you mentioned that. I've actually now changed myself to being much more diligent on my P&Ls and so on and so forth. And I'll be real with you guys. It's not that I've made millions and it's always been good, and it's always, you go through cycles in life, right? The one thing I can really say is, and even right now, I've reinvested in so many things. It's probably the most cash poor I've been in a very long time. But I can tell you a few things and this is something that I continue to tell myself, is I'm a huge believer in a lot of the things when it comes to stoicism, and the obstacle is the way. When you're going to find something challenging is usually when the greatest thing's about to happen, right? That's the first thing. The second thing is once you've gone through difficult things, like once I'll give you a perfect example. Everybody asks me, Sean, how are you so comfortable on the phone cold calling? How are you comfortable? I'm literally cold calling multi-billionaires and billionaires to do their projects now, to sell high-rises and towers and stuff, right? The reality is when you've fought in the cage and somebody's literally trying to kill you and punch you in the face legally, right? Everything else seems a lot easier. And I'm not saying that you have to do MMA, or I'm not saying you have to do anything, but once you start challenging yourself generally in life, once you start doing difficult things consistently and constantly, everything that most people find difficult becomes a lot easier. Right? So I always tell everybody, you're scared to do a cold call, just cold call a bunch then. Don't worry about the rejection. The reality is everybody's been cold called. I can guarantee you've even maybe told somebody to F off before over the phone because you were so pissed because it got you at the wrong moment. You were trying to have a romantic dinner or whatever, and it's somebody trying to pitch you something. You forgot about them 5 seconds later. The only person that really remembers is the person that made the call. They're more traumatically affected than the person that they're actually calling, right? And so the point when I say this is and you're right, in the past, I never really looked at my P&Ls at all. Now I'm using a couple companies like Sisu and stuff to make sure everything is running super smooth. But the reality is the reason why I never looked at my P&Ls is because when I'm like, shit, my bank account's not where it's supposed to be, I know I can turn it on. I know because I've done it in the past. I've been through that fear process. I've been through that issue. Now, I'm not recommending this because far too many agents are on this roller coaster of making money, losing money, making money, losing money. But if you can rely on your skill sets, and you know what they say is, I'm pretty sure it's a Navy SEAL saying, but the reality is it's not, you don't rise to your goals. You don't rise to your ambitions. You fall to your training, right? And you drop to the level of your training. And if your level of your training is this high and you know you can make 30 calls and book an appointment and get a deal done, right? All of a sudden, your confidence level is a lot higher. All of a sudden, you can live less stress in your life. There's a lot of other things that you can do that'll benefit you in the long run. So to answer your question, yeah, I've always purposely tried to do as many difficult things as I possibly can, sometimes to a detriment, right? But that's also created some of the success that I've had.
So intentional discomfort.
All the time.
Intentional discomfort.
And the problem is too, is I'm highly competitive. So when I start reading books like, Goggins and all these other guys, then I'm like, oh, that guy can do it. I can do it. And then I sign up for a 100K ultra marathon and I'm running 4 months later. And I have no fucking clue what I'm doing, but I did it.
Yeah. I remember I was working through a 75 hard and of course there's Sean over here creating his own version. I don't know. It was like a 255 day hard something. I was like, of course, you create your own version. I'm like, oh yeah, he's about to scare everybody around him off. They're all going to leave because 75 hard is demanding enough, and he's got his version of it, which makes 75 hard look like a cakewalk. Right. So walk me. What did you call that? Do you remember?
It was called the 100. So it was for 100 days. You had to run or walk 10K a day, 2 training sessions. It was basically everything the 75 hard was, just a little bit more, and for 100 days.
Yeah.
Neither one of you.
I was doing it because I was sorry.
I was just saying, neither one of you are talking me into that. Shane talked me into 75 hard once. I did get all the way through it. Did it. It was an awesome experience, right? The mental is more so than the physical part of it. But yeah, the outside, doing the outside workouts when it was like 10 below zero and in these blizzards and snowstorms, I was like, all right, I earned this.
For me, the hardest part of that whole thing was drinking the 4 liters of water. I had the hardest time doing that. I don't drink much anyway, so that wasn't okay. Like I said, it was selfish. I was trying to bring other people to train with me because I was actually running more than 10K because I was training for the 100K ultra that I was doing. But yeah, it was a lot of fun.
It's funny that you say that it seems like it'd be so easy, right? 4 liters for you, a gallon for us, right? That it'd be so easy to do that. But I found like towards all of a sudden it was the end of the day and I'm like, oh man, like I got to slam all this water yet to make my timeline, right? And then it's like, okay, I'm going to have like 3 hours of sleep tonight because I'm going to be up every like 30 minutes going to the bathroom because I waited way too long to consume all my water. Lesson learned.
Totally.
Here's the thing. Here's what a challenge like that does though. I mean, those are designed for, I mean, they're for everybody, but they're really designed for entrepreneurs, right? And those in leadership that need to be stronger discipline wise, mentally wise. It's there's some physical stuff in there naturally, but the physical stuff wasn't this, those programs aren't written for, no offense to couch potatoes, I love you the same, but they're meant for people who are already putting in 12 hours a day, already working 6, 7, 8 days a week. They're already grinding. They're already dealing with the stresses. They're already looking at a bottle to ease their, stress and anxiety. And it's that way to create that intentional discomfort, because in entrepreneurship, we're faced with unintentional discomfort every day of our life and business. And when we love it, or we wouldn't continue to do it. What it does is it exposes us in some of the areas that we think we're super strong mentally, and when we're really not. It's just like, for example, on Andy's version, if you look at the 5 things, it's like for any of the 3 of us, 3 or 4 of those it's a breeze. It's like, that's not until I do it anyway. But it's that one curveball that catches us, whether it be alcohol. Because how many times do we go 75 days without an environment for a social drink, not just getting hammered, but just a social drink, right? And it makes it awkward because here you are, someone's going to see you ordering a Sprite or tonic with a lime, and they're like, you're not drinking. Like, what's up? Like, I know you're not pregnant, right? So why are you drinking?
5 hard during deer camp in Wisconsin. And all the guys literally almost ostracized me from deer camp because they're like, what do you mean you're not drinking? Like the entire deer camp, you're not going to have a single drink. And I'm like,
that's the way guys are. We're always like, when we go to camp and stuff, like it's like a fraternity, and guys are just drilling on you. Like, you already know what your buddies will call you when you're not doing what they do. Right. So it's, but it forces you to have that uncomfortable conversation to disclose what your purpose is and intention is with that challenge, right? Here's what's funny about it though. When you do it wholeheartedly and you don't stray from the process. All of those, out of all those people that give you grief and hard time, if you watch closely, some of those end up going down the same path. They're like, okay, like he made it through that hazing and he's still on that journey. So maybe there's something to that. Maybe I'll give it a shot too. And here's the thing about it, like at the end of, your version or Andy's version, there's nothing bad that comes out of it, right? You are built to handle the weight of the world. I failed at it a couple times because I was always trying to get the right timing away from hunting camp, because it's a hard time to go, away from real estate conventions and events and stuff like that. But what I come to realize is, like, that's why they designed it that way. You're not going to go 3 months away from the industry that you serve in any way, form, or fashion. So at the end of that, when I finally did it right, I think the third round at it, then I went ahead on through the Live Hard version, which is a little different because you intentionally come off the program for a month and then you go back on the program for a month and you add some additional tasks each time. But yeah, it is weird how we will go out and find different ways to create that intentional discomfort or that intentional chaos in our lives to make us that much stronger to deal with the world's stress without snapping, right? We've always heard, like, never let them see you sweat, let them never see you fractious or anxious or angry or upset. It's like, okay, that's easier said than done. So we got to, find ways to do that. Let me ask you this. So I've followed you for years since we first met, and I've seen you make some huge milestones, huge accolades. What would you say your biggest success in business has been thus far?
There's a few things. I mean, I think it's my personal growth, I think, is one thing that I'm proud of. I think the thing that I like the most and what I brag about the most is taking agents that have never been in the business before, getting them into 7 figures their first year. Like, I think that's something that I'm most proud of, is watching other agents utilize the things that I've learned from guys like you, from Patrick Bet-David, from, all my other coaches, Tom Ferry, et cetera, et cetera. For me, I think that's the most satisfying. As far as, growing a business that does, I think last year we did about $3 billion in sales. Now, personally, I'm trying to list over $1 billion this year. These things are all really cool, right? Don't get me wrong. And down the line, it's going to be very financially blissful. But for me, I think I always get, it's the best way to put this, I always get better satisfaction from watching other people succeed than myself. It's just something that I've always enjoyed doing. Even when I did MMA, jiu-jitsu, I taught some Pan American Jiu-Jitsu champions that are friends of mine now, that are adults now, but they were 13 or 14 then. Those are things I brag about more than even when I was fighting. Right? So I think that's probably the thing that I enjoy the most and that's what I enjoy about the whole leadership aspect and creating a business, is seeing, something that was created from nothing, that never existed, to now watching people implement the same things that I became successful with and using it themselves.
Yeah.
Shane, I don't even know if you remember how we originally met. Do you remember?
Was it Commissions Inc., wasn't it?
It was, yes.
Yeah.
So, for those of you that don't know, so it was my first or second year in real estate. So this must have been 2014, 2015. So it's been a while now. It's been 10 years plus. I started off just doing nothing but like cold calling, door knocking. And I was doing fairly well, don't get me wrong, any kind of social prospecting I could. But I wanted something, because I came from a car business, I wanted something that was more of a guaranteed, you pay $5, you get a lead kind of thing. And back then, Commissions Inc., we had the second platform in Canada, right? And there was a really big Facebook page. Shane, I thought, probably owned part of it because he talked more on it than anybody else, right? And there was some.
I never did get my royalty check from that, by the way. I need to go back and do some auditing.
I swear, everybody I was asking questions and so on and so forth. And I remember I reached out to Shane, like DM or message or whatever you want to call it. And I'm like, hey man, can I hop on the phone with you for like half an hour, an hour? Just want to pick your brain on how you're building your team, how you're running your systems, how you're et cetera, et cetera. And I think we talked for like 2 or 3 hours. And yeah, he told me everything inside and out. And I think that's where our mentality was very similar. So he was very forthgiving. Even on that commission website or Facebook page, you told everybody everything you possibly could. And that really was the pinnacle that changed my business from a sales job, me out there basically replacing the car business with real estate, just out there selling, as many homes as I personally can, to being like, okay, this is an actual business. Then I went into learning, reading a bunch of books and getting some other mentors in the States as well. But basically Shane's system is what I implemented right off the hop. And that's what grew my team. And in Canada, at that point, one of the main reasons I reached out to you as well is there was really no teams back in 2013, 2016. There was the teams were like mom and pop, or, dad and son, or mom and daughter, son, whatever, something like that, family related. There wasn't mega teams. There wasn't any of those things in place. So I got Commissions Inc., started running scripts, redid our scripts to kind of match our clientele a little bit better, got an admin, did 100 deals, started, and then people just started joining the team. Then we kind of grew it up to a point where it went to about 20 something agents. And everybody's like, who is this? What are they doing? I went from, in that year, being probably like out of 100 agents, top 10 in my office, to battling for 1 and 2 position, right? With somebody that was making $2 million a year for the last 25 years, right? Just over building the business and leveraging and learning exactly what to do about it. So yeah, big shout out to Shane, and thank you so much for that.
Well, it was a pleasure to do that. I mean, and I think that's how we all get to that next level of success is, connecting with the right people. And if you ever notice, like, the most influential people in that space, whatever space that might be, are always the ones who are giving it away. Like, I've learned early on that the ones who act like they have a secret or disclose that they have a secret, they don't have a secret. What they are is scared that you're going to pass their mile marker. They're scared you're going to pass them up, which maybe I'm incorrect on this assumption, but I've always made the most strides by getting in those rooms where I felt like I was the smallest fish in that pond. And I've made the mistake a couple of times of staying in those rooms when I'm not going to say the biggest fish in that pond, but I was much bigger in that pond than when I originally started. And I got comfortable. In that space, in that aquarium, in that pond. And since I've had to go back and remind myself, like, you need to move to another pond. You need to move to another level and get uncomfortable again. Right. So, yeah, man, that was a pleasure. When I first, set up that platform, I went and looked at several different platforms, and Commissions Inc. is a hands down, it's a phenomenal platform. However, at the end of the day, it's the individuals that are driving this control panel behind the scenes in leading, guiding, directing, and coaching their people on what to do and how to do it and when to do it, and then breathing that conviction and belief into them so that they will follow that path long enough to see the fruits of their labor. Because you know how it is. It's like agents, when they first come in this business, like, I know all three of us, and I know several of the guests that we've had on here in the past, or all the guests we've had on here in the past, believe in the same process, like, in the same belief. Like, we want to see other people succeed. When have you went to a big function or event or a party to say, and how would it be if it was just you and a couple other people there? That's not fun. Like, you want to share that success. And I was proud to do that. And I thought it was really cool to connect with you. Like, that's the first time I'd really connect with someone, out of the States, and so it was a pleasure. It was a learning benefit. It was a learning opportunity for me as well. And again, it just it's a testament to say that with the right systems and the right processes and just a little bit of belief and conviction, if that individual's got that discipline, man, it's off to the races. And for the listeners and the viewers out there, I want you to, if you're just catching this or you missed this, he didn't say millions in production. And if you're in real estate, you understand this verbiage when we talk about, $100 million producer, $10 million producer, $3 million producer, right? We understand this verbiage. This guy's said the B word, the $1 billion word. Like, that's insane. Like, I mean, even if it is Canada and the pricing's a little different, it's still not that much different to meet those milestones. That is phenomenal, man. And a testament to you and that discipline. But here's the thing about it, though. There's no tiptoe in success. You can't tiptoe your way to success. You got to go all in. You got to go all in. And I think you said it best. Like that's been your way of thinking since the beginning. But it's more like, and you kind of made it, kind of pictured it or presented it like in the ring or on the mat. But what he's basically saying, guys and gals, is it's the same as you having your back against the wall, right? If you can't put yourself in the ring or on the mat, it's like having your back against the wall. The difference is you put your back against the wall when your back's not really against the wall, because you don't ever want to be in that position where your back is truly against the wall. And we're all there from time to time. We're all there from time to time. And Duane, you know this, and I know, Sean, you do too, that when your back is against the wall and there's nowhere to go but straight ahead, just like tackling your fear, whether it's video, whether it's phones, or whatever it might be, you perform at your greatest. And that comes from that David Goggins mindset. And that's a deep mindset, but, you know, it's survival of the fittest, and everybody's got it inside of them. Let me ask you this.
Sorry, Shane. One of the things that I learned when it came to, I got taught this actually by Cardone years and years ago, is that he resets, and this is something that I've started to do, his zero. So what I mean by that is, and this is how you can artificially create your back against the wall. So and I won't get into too much investment stuff, but realistically, there shouldn't be a whole ton of cash in your accounts. You should be sending it out in investments one way or another. And I hope that every realtor invests in real estate. Otherwise, it's kind of hypocritical. But on that aside, one of the things he said is, and this was something that stood out to me, is that most people's zero is zero, right? So when they get to their bank account shows a fat goose egg in there and there's nothing there, they're freaking out. They're getting onto credit lines, they're going onto credit cards, and that's when their back is against the wall, and that's when they're running forward, right? Well, if you artificially said, okay, my new zero is 100 grand, 200 grand, $1 million, and it starts dipping below that, it's go time. And instead, having this, and a lot of people are debt motivated, so I don't necessarily say or recommend that as a good way to be motivated. However, if you're debt motivated in the fact that, hey, I got $20,000 or $5,000, whatever it is, a month, $500 coming out every month to this investment fund, so I need to make sure that that kind of money's in there, it allows you to be more accountable to yourself. One of the things that I've done, and Shane, we kind of touched on it before, is now super tracking my P&Ls, which I never used to do before, but it's just looking at your accounts every month. You know, we're blinded by how much we have or don't have all the time, right? So I think it's to be on track and to be able to create this accountability platform for yourself is huge. And one of the things about coaching, training, all these other types of things, as I mentioned, I've been blessed to be able to be coached by some of the best in the world. Like I got coached for 6 months by Patrick Bet-David, Cardone guys. Tom Ferry just spoke at one of his conferences last week. I'm now talking to Brad Lee here and there about doing business. I was just on his podcast. When you're, like you said, Shane, every single time when you're trying to level up into the next category of people, I want to be the loser in the room. You know what I mean? I always am chasing that. And for everybody else, that sounds egotistical, and please don't take it this way, but I may be more advanced or above at this particular time. Those are people I want to share my wealth and knowledge with, right? Those are the people I want to help. Those are the people that I'm going to surround myself. But I know what I'm going to be. That is more of a giving opportunity, whereas I'm going to be learning from the people that I want to emulate and more like be like, right? And it's funny that you said this, Shane. It's exactly how you were to me at the beginning, and you guys are still doing this by even doing the podcast, and I know you're running your brokerage the same way, is that when you meet these hyper successful people, like when I was at Brad's place in Vegas, doing his podcast, right? For an hour before and an hour after, like any question I had, it was never like, oh, can't tell you that. Never like it's spilling guts. Hey, you want to see this? I'm going to hook you up with this guy. I'm going to hook you up with that guy. Like he's a connector. He doesn't hold back anything. It's like, no, you can't meet my connections. No, it's like, what connection you need, man? I'll put you towards it. And he knows the reality is naturally, and I think you guys are the same, are givers and want to help as much as possible. But the reality is that returns and is reciprocated 10 times over every single time. Right? Like I'm just about to invest hundreds of thousands of dollars into his coaching systems and stuff like that, because I'm going to start a coaching company here to do all these things with. Right? And he doesn't do it for that. He's a business guy. Don't get me wrong. He wants to get paid, but he doesn't do it for that. Right? Kind of like what you're saying is if you feel like you're not being challenged by the people that you're around, there's a big issue. You know, I sat and I was just going through these, I got a lot of changes business-wise coming over the next year or so. And I sat in a room, and I'm part of this Vancouver club downtown, which I very rarely ever go to, but it's kind of like a private club. I went there because it was cheaper than renting an office space downtown. I could be clients there, to be honest, right? 80% I get along with the staff more than most of the members. So let's just put it that way. It's just, we're different people. There's one guy, there's a hunting and fishing club there. And so one of the guys there I get along with well. This guy just sold his company for $350 million, right? Tech guy. Loaded. And I think he's like around my age, around 40 something. So anyways, I started talking to him about, hey, I'm freaking out. Like I'm going to be at a real zero here in the next bit here because I'm reinvesting everything and so forth, right? Like I'm freaking out, right? And he's like, listen, man, he's like, if I'm not freaking out every 3 years, I got a problem. I'm like, I'm just going to retire. Every 3 years, if I'm not freaking out at least once, I know I'm in bigger trouble than if I wasn't freaking out. So the reason why I say this is not just a lesson of like, put yourself through hard times, but it really resonated with me. It's like, I had a guy that just sold his project or business for $350 million, right? Now I don't feel so bad. Now I'm like, okay, listen, like this guy's telling me, don't worry about it. It's no big deal. This is the cycle of business, the way you're supposed to be doing. If you're not going to be doing this, you're moving backwards, right? So having that group of people around you that are at the level that you want to be or even above is absolutely huge. In the last 5 or 6 years, I can genuinely say I've probably spent $300,000 or $400,000 on coaching. Like I will pay to be in that room. And when I'm in that room, I'm forcing my friendships. Like we are now friends. Congratulations. Right? It's genuine. Like I'm telling them straight up, I'm like, I'm not here necessarily, like I want to learn, I want to get coached, but I'm not here necessarily for a specific reason. It's like, I want to build a relationship because that relationship is 10 times more valuable over the long run, right? Then, I got Tom Ferry's cell phone number. I can text the guy and ask him. This guy's literally got probably 20 or 30 people that are doing over $1 billion a year in sales, right? In his coaching program, right? I got Brad Lee. I was just texting him like 3 weeks ago kind of thing, right? And he's in his jet texting me back. I'm just like, what planet am I on right now that I can talk to these cool guys? You know what I mean? Like it is very humbling, but very cool to be in. And a lot of these places I paid to get my foot in the door. Because the truth is if you don't pay sometimes, and I'm not saying you have to pay to meet cool people by any means, but the reality is there's only 24 hours in a day, right? So to be able to get that attention, it's an investment in yourself. They can't talk to everybody all the time, right? So anyways, just my 2 cents.
And even though, right, like you said, you have to sometimes pay to be in those rooms, right? You have to pay to be in certain groups and you have to pay to surround yourself with others that are on another level. Because that's the level you want to get to. And again, they only have so much time. There can only be so many in that circle. And so, right, their time is valuable, right? Their time is worth money, just like yours is, just like ours is, right? So if you got to pay in order to get that, then you do. But ultimately, you still, and hopefully everybody catches that, you still have to have the ability to build a relationship. You still have to have the ability to bring some value to that, right? Because they're not going to surround themselves with and spend their time on someone who's not going to have any value, right? Even if it's just up and coming value, right? So you still have to be able to have a relationship, be able to build a relationship, right? And still be able to bring some value. And that's, that's a huge thing. So you drop some huge names in that all of them I follow, right? And it's like, okay, I'm looking at my phone. No, I don't have that cell number or that one. So I don't have any of those, but you've got some monster people around you. So coming up through in life and business, what would you say, who's been your greatest influence?
That's a tough question. I wouldn't say, I think I learned most of my real estate systems, or a lot of the systems I learned from the Tom Ferry organization. I can say that 100%. Now, like I said, I just spoke at one of his conferences and I've done it a few times now. Now I don't necessarily go for like the tips and the tricks and like what he's doing on these big conferences now. And my real estate coach, Aaron Chua, he's an amazing guy. I don't use him for real estate coaching. Here we go again. That's it. I don't use him necessarily for like how to do deals or even how to build my team now. Now he's like helping me with YouTube specifically because he's pro. So I think at the beginning when you start, you're more of a generalist, right? So you want to learn. And this is, to take a step back and I kind of jump forward there. These people I've all started working with next to Tom. Everybody else I've all started working with within the last couple of years. Right. So the brokerage already had 400 plus agents. We're already doing it was like we're saying, I'm always just trying to level up and step up one. right? So I'm not trying to tell anybody to like go from here and then go spend $100,000 to be in the room with Grant Cardone. Like I'm not saying that makes sense right at the beginning. So right at the beginning, my generalist is like, I want to learn from people that are doing, if you're starting this year in real estate and you're like, how do I do 40 deals? How do I do 30 deals? Well, the best and easiest and cheapest way to do it is go find somebody and either join their team that will show you how to do that has done that multiple times before, right? Or find a mentor that you're going to pay $500 a month for, or whatever it is, that has done it, and you are just going to follow their system and repeat it. And then once you get to that, that's when I kind of upgraded my coaches, or not necessarily upgrade my coach because that sounds horrible, but I'm become more niche specific. So what I look at it is in my life, and this is actually something that I learned from the Cardone guys, is I look at my life like a board of directors, right? The problem is that there's too many gurus. There's too many fake gurus, but there's even a ton of legitimate, amazing gurus out there, right? But I just translate it when it comes into like dieting, because that's the easiest way to do it, right? If you do the keto diet, you'll lose weight and gain muscle. You do protein only or whatever, you'll go vegan. I don't recommend it, but you'll probably lose weight. You know, any of these types of things, right? If you do one specific type of diet, right, you'll probably do well. But if you do all of them together at the same time, you're just going to be a fat fuck, right? So the reality is it's the same with business. So I look at, okay, who's going to be my trainer? This is my life. Who's going to be my trainer and diet? I trust exactly what he does. So I'm not going to go look for other 15 or other 20 because this maybe sounds easier, this part or whatever. No, this is the person I'm dedicating to for the next 90 days to a year, depending on what it is. I'm going to follow them. This is my guru right now on who I'm learning from YouTube, and whatever they're teaching me, I'm doing this 150%. This is the person on who I'm going to, learn my, I'm going to, my spirituality, my relationship with God. This is the pastor I'm listening to. This is who I'm going to go through. So every single aspect of my life, I have one person and I give them between 90 to a year to give the results that I know I can. And generally speaking, what I'm going to do is if I'm trying to boost things that I'm not good at, right? Like they're all going to be specific, then I'm going to choose a type of business or a type of person that can let me or teach me how to grow and become better in that specific niche, right? Or what I'll do is I'll find somebody that it would be my avatar in business that's just like me, an outdoorsman, has the same kind of, would be a role model or very similar to who I am, but is really good at something specific. Then I know I'm going to be able to mirror and match what he does or she does in business to be able to do, right? So I don't think at this point I can say there's one person that really stands out that is like guide or helps me with everything. What I have is specific people that are amazing at what they do in their specific niches that I go to on a general basis. And then I have people that I fall back onto that are more generalists.
So what I heard in that very valuable few words was that it's probably the greatest influence to you, Sean, in life and business is your coaching, your coaches, your mentors. And like we all three know this, like in agents or buyers, whoever's listening to this or watching this, like no matter where you are in that business journey, like coaching is critical. Like a mentor is critical. And don't think that you're not going to get it all of that in one spot. And you're not necessarily going to get all of that for free, right? Here's the secret, right? Everything you need to know to have Sean's level of success is available to you free on YouTube. It's right there. The differentiating factor is the accountability. Someone that is focused enough to observe you and let you know where you're making mistakes and to hold you accountable to that. Sean also disclosed that fear is a good thing. And I was reflecting back on my life in business and outside of business, and every crossroad I've ever been in, I've made the most progress from. Every one. And it's like when you said that 3 years, I didn't really think about it like that till you put it in that perspective. But that's point made perfectly, because your back's against the wall, you come out swinging, you hit some base hits, you hit some doubles, you hit some grand slams. Year one, you're hitting in cruise control. Year two, the boat's on plane, like nothing can interrupt you. And year three, like I know, and you guys are probably the same way. Year three, you're like, man, it's just too comfortable. Like the water's too smooth. Everybody's smiling. It's starting to sound like Charlie Brown in the back of my ear. Like something's not right. I've got to go create a disruption myself. And what's happening under the surface is that tsunami, right? That earthquake under the surface is about to send a tidal wave into your camp and disrupt you if you don't find that disruption yourself. So agents in particular, like if you're in the beginning of this progress, understand that you're scared of a lot of things. Like first, if you're thinking about getting your license and you've had that question in your head and you haven't pulled the trigger, pull the trigger. That's fear talking. Pull the trigger. Go all in. If you've got your license, you're at that crossroad and you're like, man, I'm going to all these orientations and all this administrative learning and videos and all these different trainings I've got to have. I'm getting pulled in so many different directions. My bank account's running dry. Find someone that can provide you with tactical business creation opportunity now. I promise you, all those administrative things that you're trying to learn, you'll be self-taught when you need those, right? Also, this is what I see a lot of, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong. I see agents when they come in this business, they're always just hyper focused on splits and being solo or this, that, and the other. I mean, I honestly wish that an agent I wish the states required that an agent be a part of a good team for the first 2 years, because brokers like Sean, you said you guys have 400 agents. Is that right? That's amazing. That's another accolade in itself. But that's a perfect example. Are you the managing broker? We're not at this point?
No, we have 3 other men.
Okay, so even three. So let's just say it's the 4 of you. So even with 4 of you guys at the wheel, like that's still dividing 100 each. Like agents, you need to be a part of a smaller elite SEAL team. Right. And it's not about, the military mindset, but it is about being a part of a smaller group that can stay attentive to your actions and how you're implementing those actions so that you can find traction. Like when I came in this business, I never asked what my split was. I didn't care what my split was. What the math is the path. What will I be paid on a closed transaction? How does that work? Is there a capping? So what does that look like? Okay, cool. That's all I need to know. Now I know how to calculate my math to make sure it's accurate when I get paid. From there out, I just need to put my head down and go and grind and create traction. I see so many agents, they come in this business, they'll sell their friends and family, the SOI business in the first 18 months, and now they're a guru. Now they want a team. I'm like, you probably need to just focus to become a rainmaker first and fail enough first before you turn around and go, I want all the money, I want all the splits, I want all these things, because you haven't hit that tsunami yet, right? You haven't hit that tsunami yet. So those are great nuggets. And I bounced around on a lot of different things right there. But Sean, that was some great insight right there. And I appreciate you I got to get the Bradley button. Duane, I've got to have it. Duane will let me have the bomb button.
I'm giving you bombs when
I gotta come up with something.
The other day, he accidentally stumbled across the fact that, like, if he does a little heart thing, all of a sudden his does hearts. And I was like, no, we are not turning any of that on for you. So we turned.
There it is.
No.
It's great. Actually, Brad's studio is insane, though. So, I'm sure it's a multi-million-dollar studio. It's pretty nuts being in it. But, it's funny that you said, Shane, that a lot of these agents, I'm a little bit jaded because we've had thousands of agents come through over the years and so on and so forth. And I can tell you that most people get into the real estate industry. I hear 2 things every single time a brand new agent comes in. Like I can almost, when they're about to say it, just say it before they do, because I know it's exactly how. I ask them, why did you get into the business? First thing everybody says, I want the freedom of time. I don't like working this 9 to 5, et cetera, et cetera. So I roll my eyes as hard as I possibly can, because when you get into real estate, especially at the beginning, 60 to 80 hours a week if you want to make any money. And then the second thing I hear is, I want to make 200K. Like this is like a magical number everybody in my area wants to make. I have no idea why, but it's 200. And don't you know, they've already calculated out that that's like 20 transactions or 15, or they have these numbers already figured, right? The hard part is when they realize it. So with our brokerage, we just implemented this actually last year. Any brand new agent that comes to us that's newly licensed has to go under a mentorship program. So they're with one of our seasoned agents, and it's a 70-30 split till they're done their first 5 deals, right? Or if they're on a team, then they the team takes responsibility for it, right? So because we've had so many times that a brand new agent came and all of a sudden their uncle wants to sell their $1.5 million, which is like our median house price, $1.5 million house in Langley or something like that. And they're going to do it for almost no commission because it's uncle. And all of a sudden they're getting my managing broker to literally write the deal from front to back with no split, right? So we completely kibosh that because I'd rather have agents that are going to treat it as a career than just a number in our brokerage. But it is something that, back to the coaching, the team, all these things, Shane, you're 150% correct. You can find everything and anything you've ever needed on the internet, without a doubt. Like Google, ChatGPT, YouTube, like it will teach you anything and everything you know. There's two things that I think a coach, and really where it applies to, is when somebody's actually done it before and knows you well, they focus this information onto you. Right? So instead of you looking at, back to the diet thing, if I Google or go to YouTube and be like, how to lose weight, there's going to be 7 million videos all telling you a different thing to do. And once again, when you do all of them at the same time, you just get fat. You don't get shredded. You don't get ripped because you're not doing the one program, right? But what do we do naturally? Naturally, we're like, ooh, butterfly, shiny star. I'm going to try this one. Now, this one said I'll lose 30 pounds in 12 minutes. Like, I'm going to try that one. So all of a sudden we get these distractions that not only all of a sudden ruin everything because we're now in analysis paralysis instead of actually executing on the things that we're supposed to be doing, but we're also not going to be learning anything or building a business based on fundamentals and basics that best meet you or suit you in the long run, right? So I think the coaching, the two biggest things is focusing the knowledge that you and your specific level to what you need to do to grow because they've already been there before. And then obviously the accountability is huge, making sure that you're actually executing on your plan and the things that you've come up with.
Yeah, I think that's phenomenal. I find so many newer agents in this business, right? They want to be the next TikTok star. They want to be the next Instagram. And it's like, okay, well, you have 10 followers and you're spending all your time on that and not following the basics that you can build a business on, right? The calling of the leads, the practicing of your scripts, right? The getting comfortable in the mirror and knowing your presentation, knowing your value prop, right? Like, what do you bring into the table? And they want to chase the shiny stuff because, right, who doesn't, right? Like, I want to put out some funny TikToks and I want to do some Instagram reels. And it's like, that's great, but you also have to feed your family. Right. And
how do you measure that ROI? How can you show me that ROI?
Start with these building blocks, and then you can blossom that into a huge business. You can blossom it into a massive thing, but you still have to master the basics.
Yeah. You have to not only master the basics, but then also when it comes to social media, for example. So I had a guy on my team. He's no longer with me now, but he did 56 deals his first year. A lot of them were pre-construction sales. So we do a ton of pre-sales here. So towers going up, they sell them now and they don't close for 5 years kind of thing, right? And he did 56 deals his first year. Majority of them were off TikTok. But this is one thing that he went through. He did all the cold calling at the beginning. He learned all the basics. He learned all the fundamentals, right? But the one thing, and this has hurt him now because obviously social media and markets have changed. This was in 2021 too, when everybody was making money, but I'm not trying to discredit him on this by any means, but this is one takeaway that most people don't realize either, is when you say TikTok, social media, all these other types of things, they don't realize that he did up to 17 edited videos a day. Like he DM'd hundreds of people. Like the work, it's not I'm doing one, and he was the one doing the TikTok. I'm doing one TikTok dance. No, he did 3 TikTok dances and then did 5 property tours, right? That blew up his social. So his social media following blew up, absolutely blew up, and he did deals off of it. From what I hear now, the deals have fizzled away and he's gone to trying to do more of the coaching stuff. And we'll kind of go into the basics and fundamentals of needing a business first, kind of what you're saying. But what I'm trying to say is even these guys, and I hear this all the time, well, I'm just going to go after my Instagram and go up to my Facebook. Sure, I get it, right? But a guy that's learning all of that stuff right now, it is a full-time job. Like Brad Lee, for example, where he gets a ton of his business and stuff from, he's doing 3 to 5 podcasts a day, 4 days a week. So he's putting in like 20 plus hours just on podcasting. And he's got, imagine if you were starting that yourself, he's got probably a $50,000 a month payroll just in the people to pay for editing, posting, and doing all the other work for it, right? So whatever you do, they think it's the easy way out, which I can see that being the case, right? But the reality is no, it's not the easy way out. You're just not, to be able to get a return and ROI on this type of social media presence, right? You actually have to do the work that you would be doing instead of picking up the phone and calling necessarily. You're just doing it in a different type of pillar, different type of sphere, right? So,
yeah, and you got it. Here's the thing, I have this conversation as a real estate instructor too. It's like, look, because I'll ask, students and agents, like, what do you despise the most about prospect? Like, which form? Like, is it the phone calls? Is it like, and which one would you prefer to do? Like, and we're kind of, and not really baiting them into that conversation, but I want to know, like, which one do you hate the most, and which one do you, dislike the least? And it's like, if you don't want to make calls, don't make calls, but you're going to have to do something at 110% all in, right? If you're not going to make calls, you need to be putting out 20 videos a day, right? If you're not going to be putting out 20 videos a day, you're going to need to knock 100 doors a day, right? You're going to have to do something. You're going to post cards, you're going to do something all in. And here's the thing: when it comes to these agents, I see them every day too. I want to be the social media agent. Okay, what value are you going to deliver? You don't know what you're doing yet. So if you want to get this following, what are they going to follow? I mean, your journey as you learn how to be a real estate agent, you better get a lot of followers, because they're probably not going to trust very much into your capabilities yet. Why not learn your craft and then share your craft out there to the masses? But pick something and go 100 miles an hour at it and go all in. And just like you said, though, they try to slice that pie in too many different pieces, too many different directions, and they get nowhere. And they end up, maybe it's different for you guys, but I have a method. I can watch an agent for 90 days, and they don't have to be a full-time agent. They can be a transitioning agent with a plan to transition, or even a part-time agent, or whatever the case, however we want to define that. I can watch them in 90 days and observe their habits, and I can tell you what they're going to average from there on out the rest of their career. I think I'm about a 97, 98% perfect on that assumption on where they go in their income in real estate. So let me ask you this, this has been a great call. If you guys have missed any part of this call, definitely go back and listen to it again, or even, download the transcription of it. Sean, if you could go back in time, 10 years, 20 years, 15 years in your professional career, what's one thing that you would wish you knew then, or that you could share with a younger version of you or someone else that's coming down that path to help them achieve their greatest success in business?
So I think there's two things that I would change looking backwards. So personally, I'm a little bit of an extremist, as we kind of chatted about before, and we know each other well, right? So I get sometimes extremely narrow-mindedly focused, right? And so if I could change anything, I'm very, very careful to use this word, because people take it completely incorrectly every single time I say it, but I would add more balance into my life. And so when I say balance into my business career and life, I don't mean necessarily like, I'm just going to be very extremely clear. If you're on a trajectory like this, it's always going to be 75% or 70% of your life is business, right? Like that is the reality, right? If you just, depends on the life you want to create. That's really what it kind of comes up to. But for myself, I went from fighting MMA, fighting at 170, walking around at 190, shredded, my abs had abs, feeling great, et cetera, to now I'm like all about money. All I care about is making my first $1 million, et cetera. And I go from, walking around at 185, 190 to 245 pounds, fat fuck, right? So, and not working out, drinking too much. I would never say I was like an alcoholic, but, I have a couple of drinks at the end of the night just to calm down. You're using it as an escape method. You know what I mean? So I've been on this yo-yo roller coaster since I've been on real estate, because I've always put, the priority has always been my kids, but next to my kids, and even right now, like my kids during my kid time, it's like a hyper focus. Like I purposely try to take them just hunting, fishing, quadding or ATVing. I'm purposely trying to find a way where my cell phone doesn't work most of the time, just so I can have that narrow focus during that time. But when it came to business, I feel like we always have to remember that it's the long game that we're in, right? So health, it's not just health. If you're thinking about it If you're the kind of person that is very, very motivated by money, I'm going to tell you something extremely straightforward. You're in good shape and you look good, you're going to make more money. Simple as that, right? And I know, listen, like I said, I was a fat guy. My girlfriend calls 2018 Sean like the fat Sean, like roly-poly, like marshmallow man. Like you would not recognize me then versus now, right? And the reality is I was making money then, right? But the respect that you get, when you see somebody, we're always judged. Everybody judges, right? And you might get butthurt by this comment, but the reality is that somebody looks at you naturally, and if you're overweight or unhealthy, and I'm not saying you have to be shredded, that's not the point, right? But unhealthy looking, they instantly think in the back of their head, you can't take care of yourself. How are you going to take care of my business? And so why have that obstacle in place? And that's strictly on the money side. Realistically, for me, that didn't matter as much the money side. It's just how I felt, right? So I now have a hierarchy in my life, right? So when it comes to my hierarchy, and I know this sounds ass backwards, is it's me first, okay? And what I mean by that is my health and my mental well-being first. Second is my kids. And don't get me wrong, like I would die for my kids. That's not even an issue, but I'll kind of go over this process. Second is my kids and obviously girlfriend, family, right? Third is my business, right? In this order. And the reason for that is if I'm unhealthy, if I'm completely stressed out all the time, if I'm like wanting to blow my brains out because the shit's getting tough, right? How am I going to treat my kids? How am I going to treat my family? How am I going to treat the people around me? I'm not going to treat them well, right? The reality is they're just going to be add-on to where I am. And then if I have all of that okay, then my business becomes very good, right? And it's just, it is this trickle-down effect. And I'm going to even say now, it is what it is. I'm going to put even God above all of that, but that's me personally. This is a new journey for me, but that's where I'm in my path. And I think looking back, if I could change anything, the most important thing would be to structure this, to be like, no matter what, I'm forcing 2 hours a day of training and like self-improvement on me during this time, no matter what. If I have to work until midnight, that's what I'm going to be doing, because otherwise this is where burnout, this is where you become unhealthy. It's not a long-term play. The second thing, and this is more business-wise, looking back is I have always been in business as an executor and like a hunter, right? So I'm always like, my biggest issues over the last probably 10 years of real estate is I'm the worst at following. Fucking worst. Like I'm like, I want to kill the shit right now and move on to the next one, right? And so now I have systems and I've become better at it. So, but I'm still, comparatively to some brand new agents on my team, they follow up way better than I would, right? Oh yeah. But I've always been like, call, knock, whatever I need to do, get business down, move forward. And because of that, I never created, up until recently, the easy side of the business, right? So I do get a lot of referrals, don't get me wrong, but where I went wrong is, and now what I teach to my team, to my brokerage, to whoever who listens, and I can put this out there, is I have 3 levels of things that I focus on when it comes to my business. These are my 3 key factors when it comes to what I want my team to focus on. First priority is always going to be prospecting, and that's 1. And 1B, oh, here we go again. 1B is going to be tracking, prospecting and tracking, right? When you can't track, you don't know what's going on, right? And if you're not prospecting, you're not creating new business, right? So that's the first thing. The second thing, and this is my regret, this is the one thing I would have done better, is brand. Build a brand. Right? So, and what I mean by this is, obviously social media is the easiest way to build a brand. But if you want to be somebody that is growing a business, the business is going to come to you more than you're going to have to hunt for it down the line. Building a brand is key. And it's the easiest time in history to ever do. And so a brand is consistent. A brand is an avatar. A brand is who you are, right? And given to the public and consistently done every single day. I've learned this. So another guy that I kind of forced my friendship on, to be honest, I haven't talked to him in a while, is Ryan Serhant from $1 Million Listing. Ryan, this is when we first started, a little bit past the first time we started Brokerage. I think it was 2018, 2019. I cold called Ryan like 100 times through his assistant. Finally got him to pick up the phone, had a conversation with him, flew to New York and said, hey, I want you to come speak in front of my brokerage and a whole bunch of people. Right. So once again, it's something I paid. So I ended up, I was very proud though, because he wanted like 90,000 US or something. And I got him down to like 25 for the day. So I was very proud of myself. But we ended up making this a recruiting event, bringing him to it. But this is the one thing that I learned. And now I've learned it talking to Mauricio from the agency and just hearing all these stories, right? Is that, and this is not a downplay of Ryan Serhant. He's one of the hardest working guys I've ever met. He is an absolute animal. He's a beast. So just to reiterate that. But most people don't realize that he was 10 months in the business when he got onto $1 Million Listing in New York. He had never sold a house yet. He was only doing rentals, right? So once those shows started airing, was he smashing the phones? Has he worked his ass off 100%, right? Does he work as hard as we do, if not harder? 100%, right? But the brand is massive. You look at the agency, before they were on the TV shows, before they were on all these other things, they were in LA with 100 and something agents in 3 locations. You know, my buddy that I was just talking about in Louisville, Kentucky, he owns an agency franchise, right? And now they're at, I don't want to lie, but I think they're close to 2,000 agents and, you know, hundreds of brokerages. It's a $100 million business, right? So brand is extremely important. Do you build it? This is the difference though, as our earlier conversation is. Too many of us try to focus on building nothing but the brand and doing the TikTok dancing at the beginning and not doing the work, but it's doing everything accumulation over time. And the stronger your brand becomes because of all of the experiences and all of the wins that you've had along the way, right? And once you can create that brand, it is not only, for example, Patrick Bet-David, he sold his business for about $400 million, right? And so he grew that massive business. But how he grew that business was multiple different very smart moves and decisions, but it was also partly because of his YouTube channel. It was partly because of the brand that he himself has created. And I think these are incredibly important things that I would have done a little bit differently to begin with.
Wow. Man, that is absolutely like these. I mean, either we're getting better at this, Duane, or we just keep bringing on the right people because this.
Yeah, I'm going to lean towards the right people are on the bus on the screen because So
appreciate that.
I'm going to go slightly off script because you just would be respectful of your time because you just served up like 22 dinners right there and everything off of this. I without a doubt, and I know I've said it before, but this truly is an episode that once it comes out, I know it's definitely going to get favorited and something that I'm going to re-digest because there's some massive plays in there for someone at any level. Right, there's stuff to be learned. So that was the main course. That was all massive amount to eat on. So let me just serve up a little bit of dessert, and mostly it's just for selfish reasons because. All 3 people on today's screen, I know we all enjoy the outdoors immensely and in that time away. And it's just, right. It's just another place, right? I know where the tree, I call it tree stand therapy, right? Swamp therapy. When I'm out duck hunting, like there's every worry in the world goes away. Like it's something magical, right? So, and I see you've got a few behind you there. Really quickly, your favorite hunt that you've ever been on, like what would be like your number one, like this is my favorite hunt to date, right? And then very quickly after that, what's Sean's dream hunt? Like this is it. Like this is that one someday I'm knocking this off my bucket list.
So, funny enough, my favorite hunt. So I got into sheep hunting, like stone sheep hunting. What is it now? 6-7 years ago. And it is type 2 kind of fun. And you guys know what type 2 fun is? Like while you're doing it, you're like, what the fuck am I doing? You know, this is the dumbest thing I've ever done. Like I have kids. I'm definitely going to die. There's grizzly bears chasing me. Like worst case scenario. And then when you're on the float plane on the way out, you're already booking your next one, right? While you got a celebratory beer. So I can say like I've my favorite hunt. No, I'm going to say my favorite hunt was definitely my worst hunt while I was hunting it. That was my first sheep hunt. So I was just on the health kick then. So I was still a little bit heavier, like maybe 225 or something like that. Right now I'm about 200 pounds. So, we never hunted sheep before. I've never done a guided hunt before. So it's just me and my buddy, Misha. And, you know, he was crazy enough to listen. I'm like, I got a great fucking idea. I'm like, we've had moose. We've got like all this stuff, right? Like, why don't we go try to hike into a mountain and shoot a ram? And so we flew in out of Dees Lake, which is like for those that don't know, it's right below the Yukon, basically. So it's way up there. It is literally a 26-hour drive from where I live. Like I'm pretty much on the border of the States. Like we're 2 hours away from Seattle, 45 minutes from Bellingham kind of thing. And so anyways, it's way up there. It's past the Panhandle. Like it's way up there, right? And so we fly in. It's about an hour. It's my second fly-in hunt. We fly in, but my first fly-in hunt was a moose hunt. Fly in there. There's no trails. There's no, it's just mountain, right? Like mountains and mountains and mountains. And so we're like, okay, it's a 15-day hunt. We're like, okay, this is going to be no problem. We should get to the top of the mountain where the sheep are in like a week, or sorry, in a day, right? So it took us 3.5 days bushing through the jungle. Like you got an 80, 90 pound pack on, and you're just like, you can't see 3 feet in front of you because it's thick as shit. And the funny thing is that was the craziest trip. Like I'm actually on my screensaver as a picture from that one. And we didn't even shoot we shot a goat on that trip, but we didn't shoot anything else. Like we didn't get any rams. We saw maybe a dozen at the very end, but it was the craziest experience ever. Like it was my first, like I've been in the wild. Like I live in British Columbia, like 90% of it's uninhabitable. You know what I mean? Like it's all forest. You name it. I've shot every animal you can possibly think of. Well, mostly. And that trip, because how difficult it was and how much of a learning experience it was. Like, I don't know if you guys have ever done this, but like sheep hunting, one of the biggest concerns is finding water, right? Like people literally die because they run out of water or they get their trip cuts called. And this was a drought season, drought years, first week of August, which is opening. So it was like probably 75 degrees up there. So it's warm. Way up there. It bugs everywhere. We had mosquito nets on us 24/7. Like you go to sleep for 3 days after we left. I had ringing like buzz noises in my ears from like mosquitoes from the outside. It was completely messed up. That's probably my most memorable trip ever. But every sheep hunt has been an absolute blast. Like it's now that I know the couple of the areas that we're going in, it becomes a little bit like recognizable areas. It becomes a little bit of your backyard, but it's one of those things that the feeling of accomplishment, if you shoot something or you don't shoot something, if you shoot something, it's like winning the lottery. It's amazing. The average unguided sheep hunt is a 5% success rate, right? And even guided, where you're spending up to 100,000 USD, is about 50 to 60% success rate. So it is it is the hardest animal in North America to kill, but it is the most rewarding. And you are literally like, this last one we did was a jet boat one. We had grizzlies chasing us. Like I got some crazy stories I'll tell you about. We didn't shoot anything on that trip, but we saw a bunch of rams and sheep and so on and so forth, but nothing legal. Yeah. Every single one, it's an expedition. Like I feel like I'm living, how they lived 200 years ago kind of thing. So it's cool. As far as I would love to do Alaska too, even though it's the same. I would love to do a Dall sheep hunt, which are like the full white sheep. And I'm actually talking to a buddy up there that might be able to get me in. But yeah, that would be probably my dream.
So what you're saying is, again, another example of intentional discomfort.
Totally. It's intentional discomfort. I put it this way, and I don't know if I was told this by somebody or if I just came up with it, but I look at it this way. When you're at like the Thanksgiving or Christmas table with all your friends and family and you're celebrating a good time, right? You're never going to brag about the fact that you just sat there and watched Netflix all day and drank too much beer and just watched the Super Bowl. And this is nothing ever. What do you always brag about? You're bragging about, hey man, I did a half marathon, or I lost 30 pounds, or I did. And the reason why you're bragging about this stuff or you're saying this, it's because it genuinely what makes you happy and makes you proud of yourself. And it's genuinely what builds confidence. People are like, how do you build confidence? Do hard shit. The more hard shit you've done, the more confidence you're going to have in the long run, right? So for me, if you're looking to, and I know we talked about this earlier, like one of the key things when it comes to leadership, in my personal opinion, and one of the key things of running a team or doing any of these things is by leading by example, right? So Shane, you touched on it earlier, like these guys are 1 year in the business and now they want to start a team because they did 20 deals or whatever. Like I always ask them, I'm like, man, like, would you follow you? Would you join your team? And 90% of the time, they're like, no. I'm like, of course not, man. You're nobody yet. Like, become somebody. Be the best. Once you're the best, and I'm not saying this to brag or whatever, the reality is the first 2 agents that joined my team, right? I wasn't starting a team. They came to me because they're friends of friends or friends, right? And they're like, hey, man, you're killing it. Can I learn what you're doing? And a lot of these agents are like, Sean, how do you recruit 10 agents a week onto your team if you want to? It's because I just put it out there. People want to learn from somebody that's done something. Focus on becoming the best and leading by example and being the shining example of what they want to be, and they will gravitate towards you, right? I do all this hard shit for myself. It is 100% selfish. I do it for myself. But the reality is that I tell them, hey man, get on the phone, make $100 today. I've had team leaders tell people to get on the phone, make $100 today, and I ask them, when was the last time you made $100? Oh, I've never done that. I'm like, well, tell me the script. Well, I don't know. I just give it to them. I'm like, well, listen, man, how the fuck are they going to follow you and listen to you if you've never done that? Teach them what you did to become successful, right? Don't teach them what I did to become successful, because at the end of the day, if you don't know what you're doing, they're never going to listen. They're never going to follow. So anyways, just my 2 cents.
I got to have the button. I've got to have the button. I'm going to have the button on the next time we do another one of these interviews.
My heart work?
Well, it's like the old saying goes. It's, never take advice or input from someone that you wouldn't swap places with right now, right? Don't take advice from anyone who's never been where you want to go. There's no point, right? It's going to go in one ear and out the other. And you gave a perfect example. It's like, how are you going to tell someone else to make $100? You haven't made $100. How are you going to pass the script off someone you have never, you've never faced the hard part of learning that script and getting eaten alive with that script. And look, like today, it's no excuse for anyone to not face those little hurdles, even in private. Like, you can role play with ChatGPT. Like, you can I do it going down the road. I will have the conversation and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and just keep sharpening that axe, keep improving. Like, you nailed it. Like, would you follow you? Like, that's golden. Like, would you follow you? Well, Sean, it has been a killer episode. And for everyone that's listening or watching this episode of Real Estate Agent Life podcast, if you have found value in this, then please do us a big favor, like and share and give us a nice, healthy 5-star review on this thing. It helps with the algorithms. If you know someone or yourself that would like to be a guest speaker on here, we've got a form in the description of the podcast. You can fill that out and we'll contact you and see if we can't set up a time to do this same type of interview, right? We're just here trying to bring real life stories of success, trials and tribulations back to others, that are on this same path, the same journey, and to let you know that there are hardships from those that you see in the industry that are crushing it. Like, they've all had their trials and tribulations. That's something we always see the same. Sean, if anyone here wants to connect with you, follow you for more information and just connect with you on a deeper level, how would they get in touch with Sean?
Follow me on Instagram. It's Sean, Sean Zubor, Zubor, and I will come up there. Or I just started the YouTube channel right now, so if you want to learn more about the stuff that I've been talking about today, it's Sean Zubor as well, Sean. My dad really likes Sean Connery. We immigrated here, so.
Both of you had the same accent. So that's awesome. And ladies and gentlemen, like, if you follow him on social media, like, you'll be glad you did. Like, he's got a killer Instagram page, and I know he's going to have a killer YouTube page as well. And he puts out a lot of really, really, really good content. So absolutely do follow him. And I think you'll be glad that you did. On the meantime, we appreciate everybody for watching and listening to this episode. And we will connect with you guys real soon on another episode. Take care.
Peace.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of the R.E.A.L Podcast. Don't forget to connect with us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok for more exclusive content. Keep striving for success, and we'll see you in the next episode.